What's up, everyone? Happy New Year. Morning, morning, morning. What's up, Reese? Long time, bro. Sarah, what up, Kyle, Tina, Christine? Sweet. I'm super stoked that you all are participating in this. I love these challenges. Um, Quite a few of you have been participants before, but I think the takeaway that I always get from these bouts of commitment uh, is besides a resurgence of interest, like sort of this forced, um, you know, push into curiosity. It's the remembrance that like my mind can actually be sharpened up and organized in a very, at least experienced as a literal way. And I'm sure there's some neurology that supports this idea of like a literalness to the organization of mind. But the takeaway is that the sharper my mind, the clearer my mind, the sweeter the world. And for some perplexing reason, that really important fact or point gets forgotten in my life to a degree. And so again, I love these challenges because it pulls that truth into the forefront and makes my mind a priority again, which makes things sweeter. So, what I want to do today, what's up, Sophia? Long time. Amy. What I wanted to do today was just sort of catch up on the basics of meditation, just in case a few of you haven't been meditating regularly, right? It's a practice, it's something to warm up into again, and it's super simple. So we'll talk about this trifecta of experiences that you're going to sort of orbit through. And then the way these sessions are going to work is I hope everyone has a pen and paper. We're just going to sort of process some things on pen and paper, jot it down, get it out of your head, personalize the information. Marcus Aurelius has a lot of, sort of general statements about well-being and goodness and virtue, and these are all valuable enough, but it's only until we take the time to fit that insight into our own lives that the wisdom becomes. It's only until that point where we fit the wisdom into our sort of specific lives that the wisdom becomes useful. And so pen and paper will be helpful. And that's sort of it. Cool, Julian, good morning. Okay, so in case you haven't been meditating in a while, the way to make this so simple is just to understand what's going on, what are we encountering in our minds. And essentially there's this trifecta, right? You have spontaneous thoughts, whatever your brain thinks on its own. Something to experience, something to observe, something to accept, something to resist, something to get pulled into, something to push out. It's a spontaneous thought. And then you have sensation, right? You have auditory, tactile, that's sort of it. Visual if your eyes are open, but you have a sensory experience to focus on. And then you have controlled thoughts, right? Thoughts that you are choosing explicitly to be with and to be absorbed by. And so you have this little trifecta, and I just want to make that clear that there is no intention of being in one or the other. You just sort of watch your mind flow from one experience to the other experience to the other experience. And this is general meditative information. But the idea with this challenge is to let it be loose, to let it be fluid. Fixating on a statement of Aurelius for 30 minutes isn't realistic, and to sort of escape any judgment on our part, the subtle judgments that arise as we attempt to control our minds, to steer away from that subtle judgment of our own practice, appreciate the other sort of environments of meditation. Normal thinking, normal worrying, normal planning, all good. That will fade away. The quote of Aurelius will come back, whether through my own, cueing or through your own remembrance, and then you'll drift into just an absorption of into the now. Cool. So we're gonna work with that today, and then Yeah, that's sort of it. Just get a taste of the meditative practice. Okay, cool. So let's do this. The first quote that I wanted to use was um, nature's job to shift things elsewhere, to transform them, to pick them up and move them here and there. Nature's job is essentially to change. So it's a nice little fortune cookie. It's interesting. But until we pull this into our own lives and really see how the force of change in nature is sort of moving through us in real time, that wisdom again is alien. So let's all take a second and figure this out. So, what habits, routines, or perspectives, especially at the new year, are changing in you or have changed recently? What habits, perspectives, beliefs, or routines in your life have changed or are changing in real time? And so we're going to spend about 3 minutes, not too long. Once we're done, maybe one or two of us can share, and then we can get into contemplating this observation. So, about halfway there, I don't know if this feels long or short to process and jot down for 3 minutes, but try to keep your pen on the paper for the entire time. So you're extracting from the mind, from the subconscious, putting these thoughts into shapes, into structures, into words, into sentences. Okay. All done. So, we're talking about change, and I think this is the process that I really want to develop for myself through this challenge is one, the willingness to contemplate serious thoughts. The beauty of Aurelius, as emperor of Rome, busy man, was that he still took the time to observe his life, observe his thinking, observe the people around him, and extract insights. And that habit alone is a huge, describes his virtuosity. And I think why anyone studies Aurelius in the first place was because of this instinct to analyze himself and the world. And so we're taking the time every morning for the next month to do essentially the same. And, the act of listening, but the act of writing this down, and analyzing yourself as you're writing this down. Is there enthusiasm? Is there resistance? This is the process. And then taking the time, once you've inscribed some sort of information on yourself, to sit and think about it. To take that 30 minutes out of every day to think about yourself. That's powerful and simple. And so just making that clear. So we're talking about change. Again, the quote is, nature's job to shift things elsewhere, to transform them, to pick them up and move them here and there. So does anyone want to share how that observation of Aurelius and that observation of a core aspect of nature is working through you right now? Anyone want to share?
Went to stopping procrastination, but then I looked at the aspect of nature, and rather than stop, it's like it's ever flowing. So observe. I want to observe the times when I'm like, oh, I'll get to it later, and really understand why I think that is something that is beneficial. So my year is going to be about action and about proactivity. And then when I feel the hesitation or that I'll get to it, rather than like trying to fight it, just observing it and checking in with my intention of doing for my greater good. I also had a question. There's spontaneous thought. The last one was controlled thought. What was the second one?
Sensation.
Sensation.
So, yeah, of course. So procrastination, right? Something we all interact with to some degree. Who else is dealing with, not necessarily specifically in this prompt, but who deals with procrastination and the desire to shave it down? Cool, right? I mean, just seeing that, the commonality of our obstacles is enriching. And again, to pull it back into like Aurelius's world, like he watches, oh, they are procrastinating. I am procrastinating. They are experiencing hesitation. I am experiencing hesitation. I'm going to take the time today to think about it, write it down, and sort of create this intellectual shrine around this little facet of what it means to be human. And with that information and that observation, we have the opportunity to step beyond it. And so I love what you said, Kyle, just about the observation. So it's so often the case that whatever is wounding us or containing our potential, if we speak in those terms, its power is in its invisibility. And if we just take the time, not even to change it, but to watch it, to watch our addiction, to watch our sort of maladaptive habits, to watch our unhealthy relationships, to watch collapse, to watch damage, the information just comes and the solutions just arise. Procrastination, awesome. Does anyone else want to share what is moving through them or what is changing? Perspective, behavior, relationship? Yeah, what's up, Brandon?
No. or so, I have been experiencing a lot of anxiety, coming in these like big waves, and my whole body's burning, and like there's just been like a lot of like things happening in life that have shifted, and some pressures building and work, just like all this stuff happening. And I've learned through a few different people, sharing their own experience in moving through that, uh, by connecting with their body. And I've spent a lot of time in contemplation. I've spent a lot of time in, analyzing, and then like understanding and learning about the feelings, and like feeling them. But I haven't spent a lot of time connecting with my body and moving through these moments, physically. And what I've been noticing, the shift and the perspective shift that came, is that I spend a lot of time up here in my head and my voice, and when I connect my body and I root down and I move and I shake and I stretch or just feel, this sensation of anxiety moves through. And essentially, the anxiety leads to procrastination. It leads to this stagnance, this kind of like overwhelmed, deer in the headlights feeling. And when I actually physically move through it, I break through that sensation, and I'm learning to make that a habit. And I'm remembering it, and executing it more, which is really nice.
Awesome, man. And so, what came up as you were sharing was just a recognition of how entrenched in thought you are, and how sort of ensnared in mind you can be. And so again, we just throw it back into the group. Who else recognizes that, a lot of you meditate and are aware of sort of this conversation around consciousness, that despite that, when you put your head to the pillow at night, you are, absorbed in worry, absorbed in thinking, absorbed in the future, absorbed in judgment, absorbed in speculation of what could be. Who notices that? Okay. Again. Yeah. And, Sarah's mentioning she gets anxiety all the time. I know Sarah's been a hardcore yogi for at least a decade, probably more now. And so the nature of this experience, as I'm realizing, is that the expression of mind and life doesn't change. It's just our response to it. As much as I meditate, I still am riddled with desire. As much as I sit on the mountains, I am still ambitious and craving success and reputation. No matter how much I seem to do, or how many plant medicines I seem to drink, there is a dimension of the human experience that does not change, and that is this sort of rising and falling between its dualities, right? Thoughts and wanting and peace, mind into body, aloneness into togetherness, and back into this observation space. The more we can just observe that, the more power we have to make these cool choices to really optimize our peace and well-being. Little tangent. And then the power of embodying ourselves, right? Which was what Brandon was talking about and what we're going to get into, right? We're in words right now. We put words on a page. The act of sitting down, stilling ourselves, feeling our nerves, relaxing, and gently, like, singing to a baby as it falls asleep, gently thinking, when we are in that space of controlled thought about change, and specifically about the change that you highlighted in your journal. This is the process, I think, to really, again, organizing our minds and remembering through this challenge that just taking the time to tidy up our thoughts is really powerful. Cool. I'll share for the sake of it. I'll just read what I wrote. Recently, I have become more concerned with the future, family, and partnership. I can feel an oncoming aloneness in the future if I don't manage this stuff. I can sense the project of building a world with someone and how long that takes. And if I keep delaying, procrastination, Kyle, I'm not going to have the time to actually build a family and partnership the way I want to. The joy of living for myself has lessened and become more hollow. The excitement of working for others' happiness has become my happiness, at least theoretically. And I filled my cup, I guess, in terms of selfish desire, just living for myself. And so that's just shifting in my heart. I'm not intending that at all. But I'm just noticing that what was exciting is less exciting. And I think when we feel that, those are like symptomatic, symptoms of depression, spaces of confusion. Oh, I don't love this city anymore. I don't like my friend group anymore. Things are changing. And this quote from Aurelius is like, everything changes. Ride it. And your distaste or your angst around what was is just another expression of change, just a gentle wind telling you to move into a new space. Cool, everyone. So it's 7:06. We're going to meditate. I'll guide you through it a little bit. Most of you are familiar with your own process, hopefully. But I want you to take the time to really think, maybe read over again the specified, personalized expression of this idea that life is always changing. What's up, Margot? I didn't see you there. Cool, so let's do this. Comfortable seated position. Nice tall spine. So something just to check out and enjoy. If you place your wrists on your knees, straighten your arms, you're going to increase your horizontal, right? You're like wider, left to right. If your wrists are on your knees, you're going to increase the horizontal. So I want you to feel the quality of this. This is the important bit. Your wrists are on your knees. Structurally, you are wider across the horizontal plane. And so statistically, what happens is you as a physical organism with structure, with shape, what happens is you increase your horizontal expression, is that you gain a sense of confidence and a sense of power. So if you pull your shoulder blades over the spine and broaden your chest, again, you are reaching into the horizontal. It should come with the quality of confidence. And so what you're experimenting with now is the capacity to sense quality, the capacity to feel it without analyzing it. And now, as if you were moving through water, trying not to create a ripple. So there is a silkiness. Bring your hands into your laps, hug your elbows into the torso, and narrow your expression. Narrow, like you're moving through water without creating a ripple. And so when you posture and build only the vertical, you become thin and tall. What happens is you create a sense of dignity, a sense of status that does not come from brute strength. And so this is coming from studies on body language. And again, what we're doing right now is sensing whether we can observe the quality of this body language in ourselves. I don't need to know how it works or why it is, but I can sense the effect. Dignity versus power. And so you can select whatever feels right. Again, you trust your own instincts. The intuitive pull to wrists on the knees or hands in the lap. Either way, everyone lengthen your spine. Everyone relax your body thoroughly, especially the face. So let's take a second. Day 1. Scan the face over and over and over again. Eyes, cheeks, jaws, and throats. Spine is tall. Body is relaxed. The breath is good. Simply stated, the breath is good. Into the belly, full lungs, and patient. And so here we go. Your mind will move as nature moves through 3 environments as you practice. Spontaneous, self-arising thought. Your worries, your to-dos, your judgments, your memories, your fantasies. Notice that now. Spontaneous thought. It will move through sensory experience. What you hear, what you feel, what you might see, even with your eyes closed, what you might smell, what you might taste. And this is the grounding into the body that Brandon was talking about. The counter to thinking. And then controlled thought. For the next month, we are studying the concepts of Aurelius. Today, we are considering his observation that nature is change. And from there, we are contemplating how we are changing as a living expression of nature in one specific way. And so pull that observation of yourself into the forefront of your mind. And feel, emotionally feel your response to this destiny. nothing to do about it. We got 15 minutes here. Take a deep breath in, slow breath out. Beautiful way to start the new year. Take one more breath in. Slow breath out. Spontaneous thought, sensation, and controlled thinking. Enjoy the merry-go-round. Slow down the breath. sensation. Spontaneous thought. Or controlled thought. In the dance of your practice, these are the three territories. Each has its sweetness, its pleasure, and its worth. Each has a quality worth spending time with. The laws of nature seep into every possible dimension. Change exists at all times in every corner of reality. Change. Aurelius, as so many other wise people, had faith in the benevolence of nature. Trusted its wisdom, and therefore trusted change. And so, in the closing minutes of this first session, can you feel the unspecified force of change in you right now? Can you open your heart? Can you conjure a quality of excitement and gratitude and joy for this force of change right now? Can you breathe into that? Can you trust how simple it is? And so let's redirect our minds into sensation, one of these three territories: controlled thought, spontaneous thought, and sensation. Just listen and notice it is different. Controlled thought. Just consider you're about to end your session in 3 breaths. So you are focusing on the thought of ending your session in 3 breaths. A controlled thought. Take 1 more breath in. Slow breath out. And with an inhale, open your eyes. Okay. Super easy. Super easy. Hopefully. The big point underneath like the meditation angle of this challenge, I spent a lot of time making meditation very detail oriented, goal oriented, hyper specific, step by step, touch this philosophy, touch that philosophy. And in that process, which was valuable to the development of a concept of practice, there was sort of this other territory that was left untended, and that was that you just need to sit down and be with yourself. That it's really super, super simple, and just being in the habit of letting it be that simple, being in the habit of being still, closing our eyes and breathing gently without falling asleep is a powerful, powerful way to spend some time. So day 1 done. Hope you gained some insight onto your change, or at least felt a sense of gratitude for the reality of change, and take it with you. And that's kind of it. So beautiful stuff, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 2. I'm going to send you an email with a little synopsis, hopefully just to conjure up and spark further contemplation. And blessings. Happy New Year 2023. Namaste. Pax in Rome, right? Pax, Latin, peace. So Pax.